This is a View from the Bridge, official podcast of the Belfast Giants for kingdomofthegiants.com. Today's Tuesday, the 26th of November 2024. My name is Patrick Smith. That over there is David McGimsey, and down below is my good friend Simon Kitchen. Over the next hour or so, we'll be looking to bring you all the news and views of the Belfast Giants from the last week. You can get us on YouTube, Facebook, and X Live. If you're watching in, send us a message, send us a comment, get involved in the chat. We'll put as many as we can up on the screen and keep you involved. You also get us on all your really good podcast providers. On this week's show, 3 points from the weekend of league action for the Giants, not without incident, and we'll have a look at that. Zak Galambos is our first guest, and we'll as we start to see what he can do in a teal uniform. And it's a big week for the Belfast Giants. It's Friendship 4 weekend. All four universities are in. And we'll have Robert Fitzpatrick on to talk us about, not just about that, but about the 25th season celebrations next Monday that are planned over at W5. Mr. McGimsey, how are you? Tell us something about that shirt behind you.
I see already in the questions, Manny Curtin's asked about the shirt. This shirt, maybe just go and get it. Should this a bit of a close up?
Go get it.
This is the favourite shirt I have in my collection. This was given me by an ice hockey legend and a good friend, Simon Kitchen. Northern Ireland jersey. This was a Castlereagh Knights. Castlereagh Knights from back in the day.
Knights.
So that's a bit of an end of an era show tonight for me. This is the last time you'll see these brown curtains.
Last time of the curtains.
Last time you'll see these curtains. The curtains you're staying. I'm just
please don't tell me you're gonna use my top the bird ice.
I can sleep.
I know it's a big jersey, but that's taking the piss.
I can sleep. It's okay. I didn't even forget sleeping tonight, but yeah, had a great weekend. It was a long day on Saturday. I left a bit like the boys in the airport. Left early to go to the game, and it was getting back into the house at 3 a.m. So it was a long old day. But I had a lot of fun. So, 3 points. We'll talk about it. But for me, pretty successful weekend.
Mr. Kitchen, it's, as Davey says, a successful weekend. We'll get to the games in just a second. But also, it's a busy time down there at the SSE Arena.
Yep. All the teams arrived today. They're all practicing today. It's you know what? It's one of my favorite weeks of the season now. It is a lot of work. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of people putting a lot of effort into it. But the standard, you just see some of these kids that I mean, when you look at Boston University, they have 13 draft picks in their lineup this year. Harvard have 12. And just to see them whiz about and they are whizzing about the ice. And I mean, they've brought 26 to 30 players each. And there's only 20 spots. So they all want to play. They're all trying to impress their coaches. It's relentless, and some of these kids are super talented. And I know we say this all the time. If you haven't been to a Friendship 4 game, you've got to go. If you're able to get tickets for this weekend, I know there's some tickets left for all the 4 games at the minute, but get yourself down to the games on Friday, because if you go to Friday, you're going to want to go on Saturday again. It's just fantastic, and I'm really looking forward to it.
We're going to get more into it once Robert comes on, and maybe a bit after that. But let's crack ahead, boys, with the 2 games that the Belfast Giants undertook at the weekend, one at home and one away. It was a 2-0 win over the Guilford Flames on Friday night at the SSE before a journey, as Davy pointed out, beset by all sorts of problems getting to Nottingham. The game finished close to 11 o'clock at night, but it was a 3-2 win for the Nottingham Panthers. Let's start with that Guilford game. We'll start with the thoughts of the coaches.
Yeah, that's down to the players buying in and competing. I thought, as you said, you could have given the post-game speech there, every word you said. Blocking shots, competing in the hard areas in front of our goalie. When they did get a look, Tom was solid. Offensively, I thought we had more than enough looks to be up more than we were there. Obviously, they had some looks as well. I thought it was a real tight game. It's a good team. They're fast. And when it's a 1-0 game, you got to be next to perfect, and I thought our guys were pretty close. And I think everybody was pulling the rope tonight, and that was real nice to see. And it's something that we need to build on. I know the job is half done this weekend. That's what we just discussed. I can enjoy the result tonight, but we have a big game against a very good team in a tough building to play in Nottingham tomorrow.
I thought we were very good under the circumstances that we were under throughout that game tonight. Our work ethic, the energy level we played at, the commitment, obviously, throughout the whole course of the game, I thought was right where it wants to be. And yeah, I did say to the boys, I felt we deserved something out of the game tonight. I thought we played well enough to get something. But unfortunately, we weren't able to. But I think they were right where we want to be, and to come in this building, tough building, real solid road performance from ourselves. And there's a lot of talking points in the game, but that's hockey, and we can talk about games probably after every one. There's always something, but hugely proud of the effort level, and we finished with 8 forwards and 4 defensemen tonight, and that's tough against obviously a Giants team at home, but credit to the boys.
Goal scorers for each team. We've got 2 goal scorers for the Belfast Giants. Bobo Carpenter and Scott Conway were the 2 goal scorers for the Belfast Giants. Tom McCullum was in goal for the Giants. But Bobo Carpenter, speaking of being Friendship 4 weekend, is a former player, isn't that right? I think he was captain of Boston Uni when they came in here. But on this game, quite comfortable for the Giants in the end. As my son comes in, hold on, you go ahead, sis.
Hey Declan, how are you?
He's
to be honest, he's not well. Not very man. I actually thought we played really, really well on Saturday. At both ends of the ice. I said that I was chatting to Mark Cooper after the game, and I said arguably I thought we could have scored a couple more goals, but arguably I thought that was one of our best team performances of the season. Tom was brilliant in net again, but you take those opportunities when they come along. You have the first play there, like Scott Conway attracts 3 players straight into him as soon as he crosses that blue line, and then lays it off to Bariga, who finds Bobo coming up straight off the bench, and it was a great finish from Bobo to get the first goal of the night, and ultimately the game-winning goal. But Guilford were really solid. They're a very, very quick team. They've got some really good players. We talk about obviously the 5 ex-Belfast Giants players. 4 from last year, and Sean Norris, Charlie Curley, Tedesco, and Travis Brown. And all 4 of those guys played decent again. And you want to play good against the team that you left last year. But I just thought that we managed the game really well. I listened to the Paul Dixon there say about they finished the game with 4 and 8. We've done that quite a few games this season, so we know how it feels, believe you me. But again, I thought overall everybody bought into it. Everybody contributed. Everybody basically played both ends of the ice, and we thoroughly deserved to win.
There were times, Davy, where I thought we looked really, really fluid, and considering and we'll go on to the Nottingham game, and the trials and tribulations there. But guys are coming back to health. We've got Zak Galambos coming in, and I thought he was great in both these games.
Yeah, I can't argue much with what Simon has said there. I thought it was a pretty good performance as well. Massive, a good start for us, getting up in the leads always, going in the end of the first period. I thought a really strong pushback from Guilford in that second period when we had to beat defensively so good, and we relied a lot on a fantastic performance from Tom McCullum. They came at us hard in the second, and we were able to weather the storm. Both teams, give credit where credit's due. 5-on-5, both teams blocked nearly 30 shots between them, more or less split down the middle. We more or less controlled the face-off circle as well, so we had a lot of possession, and we're able to control that neutral zone very well, I thought, on the night. Listen, Simon has nailed it. It was for me, one of our best performances this season against I know Diggers are saying they finished 4-8, but they're a decent team, and you've got that desperation level there with Charlie and Brownie and Sean and stuff that really want to come back to Belfast and put their best foot forward as well, and show off what we may or may not be missing. But it was a good 2 points, really. And you talk about a defensive performance, and I mean that from the guys up front as well as the guys on D, and of course we've mentioned Tom there. I just thought all around 5-on-5 we had the edge. We're just a little level above them, and we got the goals at the right time. And we defended well through that second period, and I think it was a well enough earned victory.
One of the incidents in this, and you're just seeing that, I thought it was a lovely goal from Scott Conway off the rebound there. But one of the incidents that came from this, or a couple of incidents of this, were a suspension to Ben Lake for kneeing, and a fine for Daniel Catenacci for his 5-minute major on spearing. Is there any sort of, what's the word, inconsistency there, Sis?
Look, again, I mean, when you look at the replays on the incidences, you don't see the one for Catenacci. Laker, for me, and you know what? It's sort of, I at the time I actually didn't know it was Sean Norris that was lying on the ice. I couldn't make it out. My eyes are getting better, but they're still not great. And I couldn't make out who it was lying on the ice. I spoke and was talking to Chucky at the end of the game. Unfortunately, he left the rink on crutches because, again, apparently it was knee on knee. I spoke to Chucky, and he says that there's no way Laker meant to hurt me. There's no way, he basically did what he did. But you've got to take into consideration this game was played at a really high speed. And, one guy is trying to evade getting hit. The other one is trying to make the hit. And they both move basically the same way to get a hold of each other. And for me, I didn't think it was as bad as what it is. Now, yes, it's made worse because the player's down face on the ice for probably 3-4 minutes, which didn't help. And I never like to see anybody getting hurt. Yes, you like to see really hard hits, and you like to see guys, doing exactly their job. I never like to see any player getting hurt. There's nothing worse than watching people, the situation of their families watching at home, and they don't know how badly or how injured the player or their son is, and it's never nice for that to happen. But for me, I didn't think it was as bad as when you see it on video. But when it is slowed down on video, Laker basically does go to play the man, and again, it's just that slight movement, and Laker's basically going with the body and trying to take the man out. I didn't think it was a suspension, if I'm being honest. And obviously, again, the next day, the boys were at the airport when Laker was there at the airport, and the news came through that he was getting suspended. So he got his bag off the plane because it was still sitting there for 6 hours. Ended up at home. So for me, I didn't think it was I actually don't even think it was a major penalty, if I'm honest. But referees were closer to me. He wasn't given a penalty at the time. Sure, he wasn't. Wasn't given a penalty at the time, sure. But on reflection, it's been given, and that's obviously a suspension. But I don't think he was given a penalty on the play.
No, he got a 2-minute for hooking in the middle of the second period.
No, he didn't get. There was no penalty on the play.
There's no penalty on that play.
No.
Okay. But then also Daniel Catenacci gets a 5+ game for spearing as well in that game. So
I was actually.
He gets a fine. He gets a fine, but not a suspension.
I was back and forth with Davy about that when it happened, because I was looking right at it when it happened. I was standing with Steve Thornton, and it's blatant a spear, as you'll see. The referee's given 5+ game for the play for Laker to get a suspension. Get it? It is the second time, but he got a suspension and a fine the last time. It's third for
Catenacci.
Yeah,
it's his third for Catenacci, and he only got a fine.
Catenacci was fined for. I'm going to say fined for slashing, suspended for slew footing, and now fined for spearing.
That's why I was surprised it was a fine.
So how come he's only got a fine this time? I
don't know whether each one is treated as a new. It's not a repeat offence if it's not for the same type of thing, if you know what I mean. If you slash somebody once and you get fined for slashing, maybe the next time it's a suspension. But if you've done something different, but I don't know what the top-up procedure is. That there's no openness about that.
Just to say before you go on that, David, just to say on both the press releases from DOPS on both situations. Obviously, Lake has already had a 1-game suspension this season. You say Catenacci's under his third offence, but the second fine, 1 suspension. Neither of the press releases from DOPS mentioned that they were repeat offenders.
Yeah. For me, I'm with Simon. Andy Dalton for me gets the call right in the night. It's not. I don't think it's a penalty on the play. Not every incident where players clash and sometimes when it's completely accidental or a knee-jerk reaction, the coin Peter Robinson, doesn't necessarily need to be a penalty or a major or a suspension. For me, and this isn't to put responsibility on Sean Norris either. He's chased down into the corner, I think, by Josh Roach, who puts him back up the half wall. And at this point, Lakers coming in, skates firmly on the train tracks, parallel, shoulder width apart. He's just going to play the body. And Sean Norris makes a little left-right to avoid the hit. Sometimes often players will try and slip a hit rather than take a hit. And he tries to slip that hit. And because he's just gone 90 degrees left-right, Laker extends just to close the gap again. And unfortunately, yes, it's knee to knee. I don't think there's any intention here. I'm going with my knee. It's just a natural, I need to make my body bigger to make sure I get contact on him. And unfortunately, bottom half of each other's bodies have collided with each other. And unfortunately, Sean's got injured on the play. But for me, I know Neil, the coach Russell, beyond me saying I'm a homer. And, I wouldn't say this if it was the other way around. But for me, the refs got it right in the night, and I bet they're feeling a little bit undermined as well.
Well, in which case, the Ben Lakes was suspended for the following game against the Nottingham Panthers, and that's where we're going to move on to. You get the highlights from the game against Guilford, of course, from our good friends at Belfast Giants TV on YouTube. And Giants were subject to more or less 8 hours of delays with regards to travel due to Storm Bert. On their travel to Nottingham, the game faced off incredibly late and went on into the night. It was a 3-2 overtime victory for the Nottingham Panthers. Here's the coaches.
Tough night in terms of the compete. Belfast just kept coming. We know they had a long day. We wanted to get pucks in behind them early and put some pressure on them, and I think we certainly did that the first 5-10 minutes. But credit to them. They came back in that game and made it tough on us all night. And just a game that could have went either way. And fortunately, we were on the right side of it.
Yeah, it was a long one for sure. I asked the guys to leave that on the plane and just prepare for a hockey game. I thought the guys did that. Throughout periods 1 and 2, we probably didn't create enough to build a lead or get tie that game up. Loved our efforts in the third period there. With some real fight back, some real positives there. 3 lines versus 4 lines, a long travel day. I thought our guys did a great job there in the third period to fight back into that game, and I thought they deserved more from it, to be honest with you.
Goal scorers on the night, Scott Conway and Mark Cooper for the Belfast Giants. It was Niskala, Stevison and Alfaro. Big shout to John O'Bullard. It sounded like he was shouting Alguero when he's going Alfaro on the overtime winner. McCullum and nets for the Belfast Giants. Says, I think the take a point from this, you've got to be happy. Given the day that we've had, you come into a rink like that, you've had a really bad day of travel. You're trying to get your head back into it, and the Giants toiled at times, but they came away with a point.
Yeah, I'd rather go to Davy in this because he was there.
Yes.
Davy, you give the. I mean, I only watched the TV.
You take this, Davy. Sorry, I was supposed to go to Davy first on that.
Listen, we just talked about what was a great performance on Saturday night and all the defensive things we did well. It was Saturday night. Sorry, Friday night, Saturday night. I loved our performance on Saturday. I thought we grafted one out there, and we probably deserved a little bit more than what we perhaps got. Would have got to take in the penalties. That major penalty with 30, 40, 50 seconds left in regulation. Again, we'll talk about the later one. It's not a major penalty for me. For me, it's not even a penalty, but we can come to that. We stuck at this. Obviously, we went 1 down. We came back into it, gone 2-1 down quite quickly afterwards. But Coops just came up with a big moment and got us back into it. And at that stage, going there and taking a point after the day we had, some coaches referenced there about leaving it on the plane, but the guys are getting there. They're having to get their kit on, get out for a warm-up within like 20 minutes. They're not getting through their normal preparation. They're not getting their normal stretches, no two-touch, all this kind of things, that little routines that you go through every day, getting a cup of coffee, whatever it might be. Just wasn't time to do it. So they just had to go out and play and play on instinct. And yes, Panthers went deep on us a lot in that first period, but we soaked it up and we grew into the game. And I thought we might get leggy towards the end after such a long day in the airport now, but they grafted this one out. And when it went to overtime, you're hoping for a bit of a miracle, especially with the 4-on-3 against, and it just wasn't to be. The 4-on-3 is a massive advantage, and so it worked out. We'd just be able to get one extra past Tom, who had another great game in net. I thought all round, you obviously missing Laker there, missing Longer, still a little bit short, and guys just coming into the roster, still finding their feet here. Difficult ring to go to, as Adam said there as well. And I thought to come away there, to finish the weekend with 3 points is no disaster at all. Well proud of them.
I think, yeah, and that's it. So you've seen over the last couple of weeks some people maybe maligning the Giants for effort and for drive and for being able to go deep. You have to go deep in this game. This game, when you've got an 8 hours of travel and you're going into the NIC, which is no easy place to go regardless. We've had our trials and tribulations there, and to come out with a point, yes, ultimately this is our second defeat in the NIC from the 3 that we'll play there, which is not great. But when you take into account what the lads went through on the way there, it can't have been easy.
No, as Davey said, and it's sitting around at the airport for 7 or 8 hours, whatever it was, eventually, but it's never easy. And it's not as if you can get up and go outside for a bit of fresh air. You can't. It's those little things that you just take for granted a lot of the time, and unfortunately you couldn't do it. But I just thought the buy-in again from the whole team over the weekend was absolutely superb. And you expected a bit of a. To be honest, I actually thought that Nottingham took their foot off the pedal. I mean, they started the game well. They get that go-ahead goal, and I thought that. I thought they were going to try and literally get stuck into us. I mean, you were obviously the news coming late that you lose Laker. We ended up playing Carl up front, which he's not used to as well. But overall, again, you get back into the game. You manage to tie it up again at 2-2. You take it to overtime. I think if you'd have said to Adam after the way everything had ended up with the travel day, if you'd have said to Adam at 8 o'clock before the game started, look, we'll give you a point here, and see what would you take it? I think it'd bit your arm off. I do also think that he'll be disappointed the way the call was leading into that major penalty with a few minutes to go a few seconds to go in regulation time, because that brings us on to another talking point. To be honest, if that major penalty isn't called, we have a real chance to win that game, because the momentum is with us. We're getting back to 2-2, and we go into overtime feeling really good about ourselves. Well,
that's a P.O. Moran takes a 5+ game that puts the Giants under the cosh going into overtime there. If anybody watching on, you can see the incident there. Will you start with this one, Sis? Your thoughts on it?
I don't even think it's a penalty. No, again, right. I know there's people going to watch this. Giants fans might be watching. I've seen
there's movement of the head there. Says like if you like, I know that Davy's going to come in, he's going to break it down, but and yes, his head's low.
Yeah,
but it looks like a check to the head.
Again, when you watch that at full speed, people forget this. It's the bloody fast game. You've got P.O. flying back down into the play. That's it right back. Let it go, Davy. Again, he puts the brakes on and turns back towards the wall, because he obviously would like to get straight down that wall. Was it Jeff Baum that basically makes a really smart play? He turns back towards the blue line. P.O. is busting his balls back to get back into the play. And if you watch that, he tries to move to his right to actually avoid making contact, and all of a sudden makes contact with the player. I don't even think it's a minor penalty. I really don't. And the bottom line is, again, I'm not as close as what a lot of other people are. If you let this play, Bomber tries to keep him to the outside. He stops there. P.O. tries to go to his right. He's more concentrating on the puck than he is on the man. If you watch his, I don't know if you can see it from the other side. The first time I seen this was actually a fan had mobile phone. And when you watch it, because it's actually in the angle itself, P.O. is looking at the puck to try and poke the puck away. And he does make contact. I'm not denying that. He does make contact. Making the contact, does that make the 5-minute major? I don't think so. I think it
depends where the contact is, though, because if the contact you've got, you can't make contact with the head. Like, I understand you're saying that this is going at full speed and times the but you just can't do it. You can't do it.
I understand that. I get that. But again, my point would be like, it's unintentional. It's absolutely unintentional for him to do that. PO, do you know what? There's probably a list of players on every team that you can think of would go, I'm going to hit that guy as hard as I possibly can.
No, I don't think that was. I don't think that was the case. It may have been accidental, but if there's contact with the head,
I get that. I get that. I'm not arguing that point. There was contact with the head. I'm not arguing that point. The point I'm arguing is, again, it's a fast sport. The guy puts the brakes on. He turns back towards where PO's coming from at full speed. He's less than 3-4 feet away from him when he turns round to him. It's like driving as fast as you possibly can. Not as fast as you can. Driving along a motorway, and all of a sudden the guy in front of you puts the brakes on. And 90% of the time, people aren't giving themselves enough space, and they're running straight into the back of him. There's no difference. It's really difficult to avoid making contact with him at all. Davey might have a different view, but I didn't think it was a penalty. However, referees decided it wasn't at the end of it.
Davey's geared up his own video, mate. You go for it. I think
Davey hasn't geared up his own video. I've just paused it from that angle. What annoyed me the most was they did their little VAR. They went and they still got the wrong decision for me. I don't know if they're picking that they've got the two angles that we have. From that angle, and Simon has correctly said Doherty, and first of all, glad to see Doherty's okay and up on his feet. Nobody wants to see anybody getting hurt.
Nope.
Doherty turns, stops, doesn't move his feet. PO at that point doesn't really have anywhere to go. The contact isn't principal point of contact, body. It's his right arm, because if you slow that down frame by frame, when you see that from this angle, you see his arm going before you see his head. There's no doubt there's contact to the head, and yes, there's no such thing as a clean hit to the head, but your hip bone's connected to your knee bone, etc. If you hit your arm and your head goes down, your head's getting hit. It's unavoidable. And for me in that situation, not only is it not a minor penalty, I thought, honestly, when they went to get, I was delighted, because I said they're going to go and rescind this penalty to throw him out of the game. I'd love to see if they've got another angle and I'm completely wrong in this. Show the videos. This is annoying me more and more every week about for years, Dobson, they have their detractors about, they're not open and transparent enough, and they used to do the video every week, and at least you can have a little bit of a conversation around it. Now it's just, this video is inconclusive for me to give somebody a 5+ game that put us on a 4-on-3 overtime, which cost us a point on the night, potentially. We could have gone on.
A great cost is the point.
For me, P.O. Marin is making an honest attempt at the puck. We talked about Sean Norris on Saturday night. We've talked about Kyle Osterberg. We've talked about Joey Cassetti, player, and we're talking about Doherty here. People putting themselves in vulnerable positions can sometimes get hit. This can happen. And for me, it's not a bad hit. It's not a suspensible hit, and it wasn't a major penalty. I'll go on from that. Back to Carl Boudreau, says mention him. See, to have the D-man that can skate like that and transition the puck. He was critical in that third line the other night. He took us out of so many tight situations, willing to take the puck from his own blue line up to the red zone. Really impressed for a guy that's not, well known for his offensive, for playing as a forward, as a D-man. I thought Carr was outstanding on the night. But listen, we ended up with 3 points on a weekend that had a lot of adversity. Take that every time.
1 point for the Belfast Giants in this game, 3 points from the weekend in league action, and the Giants continue on the road next weekend. We'll come to that, no doubt, later in the show. The highlights on this are Panthers TV. Listen to Jono and Greener on that. And we move on to our first guest, who's sitting in the green room waiting for us. He's come in, and we're starting to see exactly what he could do in a tail uniform after maybe a start to the season that he wasn't really hoping for. We're delighted to welcome on to View from the Bridge, Zak Galambos. How are you doing, mate?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Doing really well, mate. Doing really well. And I want to go kick off here by just saying exactly that. You've turned pro, come straight to NCAA, and it's not the greatest of starts. You're on the ice now, but how much of a frustration was it to start the season the way you did?
It was very frustrating. You spend your summer training and you get in shape and get ready for the season, and then that happens, and it pretty much sets you back to where you were at the start of the summer, and you got to do that all over again.
We had Joey Cassetti on last week. Obviously, he's in a similar situation. We talked a little bit about the psychology of it, and the sort of drive and trying to keep the right mindset to get yourself back on the ice. Is that a difficult mindset to get into, or is that something that it's part and parcel of the game?
It could be a little difficult, but I think you just got to try and find the positives in whatever situation you have and try to make the most of it.
And have you still got a bit to go, Zach? You still not completely up to full speed yet, or are you feeling you're pretty much there?
I think I'm getting there. I think I have a little bit to go. I think my conditioning is moving along a little bit more. I think it's right there, but just got a little bit more to go.
Let's jump off the ice. How's it been in Belfast so far? Obviously, you had a bit more time to maybe look around than you otherwise would have had, but are you settling in okay?
Yeah, I love it. It's awesome. Those first 2 months, I guess I really wasn't moving too much. Kind of stuck in my room, but been getting out a little bit recently, and I like what the city has to offer.
Zach, I'm going to step back onto the ice. Obviously, I seen what you had to go through with bag skates from George every morning when you were coming back into to get ready to play. I'm sure you don't miss them.
Oh no, not at all. But it's just something that you need to do, and you got to embrace it and get it out of the way.
I mean, at times, to be very honest, I'm still thinking George could still play. I know you wouldn't have remembered him playing. We've all seen him. These two up here have definitely seen him playing. He's fourth overall time. Fourth, did we all time? Third all-time point scorer in the Belfast Giants. So some of you guys probably don't know that. But George could shift and play and look after himself and captain the team and won trophies. We probably don't talk about him enough, to be very honest. But I think he could probably take a shift or two if we're really stuck again.
Oh, I think he could too, because, as you said, you were watching us do it. You were watching him skate too. He was moving pretty well.
So, obviously, where we are right now, you're now 7 or 8 games into your season. You watched a lot of hockey before then. You've seen your teammates, obviously, go through a lot of adversity earlier in the season with a lot of guys out injured, yourself including. How do you think, and where do you think where we are right now with regards to how basically season started itself?
I think we've put ourselves in a good spot. There's obviously a couple games I think we wish we could have back, but like I said, I think we've put ourselves in a good spot and we've set ourselves up for success for the rest of the year.
Coming back to what we had there on Sunday, and we talked about it earlier on, how difficult is it when you've had such difficult sort of travel situations and the delays that you had to get your head into the game on the ice in Nottingham?
It was pretty difficult, after sitting around at the airport for 8 hours or so. Something I've never experienced, and then you got to get off the plane and you got to get on the bus again for another hour, and it was weird. It was kind of difficult, but once we got past warm-ups, it was just like, we're back to business.
Is there work from the coaching staff there to do? Do they come around, try to keep you active, try to keep your mind and sharp, or they just leave you to your own devices?
They pretty much left us alone. But once we knew we were, actually going to get out of there, that's when they were kind of like, let's get our heads into this. Let's get the job done.
You're a former NCAA man, with Western Michigan and Minnesota State as well. But we've got the Friendship Four coming in this weekend, obviously, and the teams are starting to get onto the ice, and these college teams are starting to warm up for this weekend. What's your experience of NCAA? What do you think that if anybody who hasn't watched NCAA, what do you think they should expect from this weekend?
I think you could expect some fast-paced and very skilled hockey this weekend. You got a couple Hockey East teams, and then Big Ten team coming in. So, even the Ivy team, NCAA is an amazing league. And I think a lot of people around here don't realize that. So if they get a chance to go watch these games, I would recommend it. They'd see some really good hockey.
And for ourselves, Zach, be on the boat over to Scotland, a couple of big games for us this weekend.
Yeah, a couple big ones. Glasgow, they're a very good team. The Standings might not, show that, but I think they're a very good team. They can snap it around, and they're very physical. And so who else are we playing? We're playing Fife too, right?
Dundee,
right? From what I've seen at Dundee, I haven't played against them yet, but
no.
I think they're very fast. So they can make plays.
I think you were out when we played them 100 times to start the season. I think some of your teammates will have more than enough experience against them. Though they took a win at the weekend in Sheffield. So they brought Philip Sanche in. It looks like they're starting to get a bit of a drive. But Zach, listen, we appreciate you coming and joining us. Good to see you on the ice. Good to see what you can do. No doubt, once you get up to full fitness and get that conditioning like you want, we'll see even better stuff. Good luck this weekend.
Perfect. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Big thanks to Zak Galambos for joining us. It is good to see you when these guys get injured. We saw it last season with Elijah Bariga, and we see now what we were missing last season. But we see it, and we spoke about it last week, Davey, with Joe Cassetti. And when these guys get back up to fitness, there's a bit between their teeth to show what they can do.
Oh well, there's a reason why Adam and Steve recruited these guys, and it's good to see those fruits coming to harvest now, but it was difficult, obviously, for Zach. All right, we faced. I get it. What?
Maestro.
That's what it was, mate. But yes, I can see what it said now. Sorry. My goodness. But it's good to see these guys in the lineup now, getting their conditioning, getting their fitness, and showing what they can do. Because my goodness, they're good players.
Absolutely. And since you're saying, you seeing these guys, you speak to these guys when they go through the injury and stuff. You do have to have that sort of drive, that sort of commitment to sort of get yourself out of the rut. I suppose psychologically it has its effect.
It's tough, man. It is tough. I mean, it doesn't make a difference what level of sport you play at. I mean, you take a bad injury. It's you got to work hard to get back again. Obviously, I'm not in shape anymore. Well, I am in shape. Rounds of shape. Everybody keeps complaining about it anyway.
Just because we love you.
Well, this is it. No, I've had bad injuries before, ACL, MCL, the shoulders are screwed, and but it's all about the desire to want to get back to play again, and you've got to work your tail off to get that done. I mean, Davey, I don't know, did you know Davey broke his leg a couple of years ago?
He did not, did he? Did he break his leg?
About Davey.
No, he kept back.
Bad one, mate. Tib and fib, metal from the niggly ankle still, but I soldier on, I play on, I do what I can.
Kept it yourself.
Yeah, I'm talking. We should have said to Zach actually. Whenever you were talking about George, like arguably the best penalty killer.
Yeah,
this club's ever seen. But then should have said to Zach, big Kitchie played as well. Probably don't know, although you probably tell him Kitchie when you pick him up at the airport.
No, mate, I don't.
No,
I don't.
Not give him the rundown.
And they don't have YouTube.
Zach's still watching Kitchie.
Kind of a big deal.
Shirt, my hero Kitchie's shirt. Boy can play.
Surely they get off the plane and go, my God, you're Simon Kitchen.
He sent them. He emails them all as elite prospects before they come over.
It's in black and white, black and white. Going, what's this? So no, that's not me, mate.
Great stuff. That was good to see Zach. We're pleased that he was able to come and join us. Right, gents, let's batter ahead. It is a big week for the Belfast Giants. Friendship 4 this weekend, and of course, what happens in W5 with regards to 25 seasons of the Belfast Giants and the celebration there. Who else are we going to invite on to chat about it? And of course, the CEO of the Odyssey Trust, our good friend, Mr. Robert Fitzpatrick. How are you doing, Robert?
I'm very well, boys. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah,
and by the way,
this got the shirt up yourself.
Nothing to do with me. This is Davy McGinty's fault. Ellen's seen me at the castle. Ellen's seen me in the jersey hanging on his curtains, so she came up and hang Coop's jersey behind my shoulder. So it's all to do with Ellen, nothing to do with me.
Yeah, this is his second podcast today.
Oh no! So I believe I got a phone call. I got a phone call. So tell us about your first.
We had the pleasure of Pierre Maguire and Jimmy Murphy were in the hot bar, and it was good. It was good.
Yeah, they're obviously over as part of the whole weekend and the sports sort of element of it. Robert, give us, obviously this is, it's 9 years, hard to believe, 9 years since the first Friendship 4 in 2015 and what we had there. And we've got a hell of a weekend ahead of us, not just with the games we have, but also we have a lot of, like you've mentioned Pierre there, and everything that's going on around it.
Paddy, I think the first thing to notice, and I suppose, Kitty's in the tent now, so he'll know this as well. But for the first time this year, we've over 1,000 bed nights in Belfast.
Wow! So
you now have, 1,000 people coming into Belfast for 3 or 4 nights to watch hockey and to embrace the city. And 9 years in, I think that in itself is a tremendous achievement.
it's obviously you've got the likes of Notre Dame, Harvard. You got there's a change. One of the reason is like you've got a change here because in previous years we had just hockey and ECAC, but now we spoke about this when this was announced. But the actual tournament is expanding.
It's a deliberate ploy on my part to try and get the Big Ten and the Western Conference to come in. With the exceptions of Boston College, all of Hockey East have been to Belfast now. Mm-hmm. All of the ECAC teams have come. With the new AIL regulations, we're trying to spread our brand, if you like. Next year, as we've already announced, we've got 2 teams coming into the Atlantic Division, but Miami, Ohio are coming in from even another conference. And, without giving the game away, 26 and 27 will bring other conferences in. In the next 2 years, we'll be coast-to-coast states with teams participating.
Robert, let's not get what's the best term? Too sycophantic about it without pumping your tires. But whenever this idea was first sort of mooted, it's probably 11, maybe 12 years ago now.
That's right.
Took a few years to get the fruition. You can't have imagined, even though these ideas that you throw at the wall, you can't have imagined the success this would be.
Well, they said the Bruins wouldn't come, Davy, and they came. They said, I'm not sure that we've understood the word no, because for the first couple of years they said no, and then they said yes. Am I surprised that it's got it as big as it has? No, because we've a great team that builds it. We have an outstanding team of people that every year, when this thing rolls into town, everything gets sat down, and it's all about the 4. And we now have people of the status of Pierre Maguire, Jimmy Murphy, people like that, who are coming on. Yes, they're pumping our tires a bit, but they have to be told about the tournament. And the fact that you've got teams now traveling in on the Tuesday, and sort of committing to their Thanksgiving, committing to the community outreach that we asked the schools to do, and then been expected to play 2 in-league games, is testament to the validity of the tournament. But I tell you what I'm like, David, as I've got older, I've become more and more proud of what it is we've all built. And I've become more and more proud of the fact that the tournament's now internationally recognised, and that we have the ambition next year, for example, to do men's and women's 6 weeks apart. So sometimes people say, be careful what you wish for because it might happen. But the reality of it is this has happened now, and it's something we should wear with pride.
Did you consider at the start, says I'll probably have the statistic closer to hand than I would, the amount of players that have jumped from Friendship 4s to end up not just in our time, but in the league?
Right.
Davey, at the start, when this started out, I was looking at this purely as a business proposition that was going to reposition hockey in the city, and that it wasn't just going to be about the Giants trying to do the Giants brand of hockey, but that we could have Ivy League schools and big powerhouse hockey teams coming to Belfast. Now, if you'd have told me that, over the 9 years we were going to get 13 or 14 recruits out of it, I would have said you're dreaming, because of the standard of hockey that we're seeing. But when you think of some of the fellas that have come through Belfast, Darcy Murphy coming through Colgate, Scotty Conway and Jeff Baum coming through Providence, some of the other lads that we've recruited, but more importantly, David, the fact that they're able to talk to guys that might still come, that have been through the NCAA, and then have subsequently been through the Giants. And I mean, it's I feel a bit sorry for Kiefer and Mason, boys like that aren't going to be here at the weekend, but I suspect they're going to be here Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, watching the guys practice to identify the next Belfast Giant that they might have the conversation with. And like, guys, you've seen the changes that we've made to the locker room. You've seen the changes that we've made to the profile. There's another rack of big capital changes coming in through to celebrate the 25 years. And we're a very, very, very interesting proposition now. Jimmy Murphy was asked on the podcast today, Pierre Maguire was asked on the podcast today where he would position the Belfast Giants in terms of standard. And he very quickly, didn't hesitate, he said, the Belfast Giants are above the ECHL and just below the AHL. So, we're doing something right.
Robert, you're talking about Adam and Jeff and George and what have you, watching practice tomorrow. They were there today. They were in the arena today watching the practices, and Mace didn't leave until 4:45, I think it was, because they get stuck in that traffic, which is a pain in the arse. But anyway, Davy just touched on there with regards to our 9th year and the popularity, and just again today I was standing. We had BU come in just after lunch. They were going on the ice, and there was a kid that came in and just walking past. He had his gear and his luggage, walking in through the door, and I just heard him saying, he says, "I absolutely love this rink." And I sort of turned around at him and followed him in to where he was. And he sort of left his bag, came back out and walked down the tunnel. And I walked down the tunnel. I said, I heard you saying just something the way in there. I love this rink. You played here before? And he went, I was here with UMass Lowell 3 years ago. 2 years ago. And I said, I'm going, what's your surname? And he says, Ingham. And I says, Braden Ingham? And he says, yeah. And he said, I've told the boys, he said, this is just the best tournament. He says, we had an absolute ball. And he's passing that on to his teammates before they even hit the airport in Dublin or before they hit the ice in Belfast.
Well, I'll tell you a tale.
So excited to be back.
I'll tell you a tale. You didn't see this, but the first person, I was busy all day in W5 with an education conference, so I didn't get over to the rink until late. And the first person I walked into was Bobo Carpenter. And Bobo was standing outside the locker room with his BU tracksuit on. Okay. The bags have arrived in the Merrimack room. The bags have arrived in the Notre Dame room. The bags have arrived in the Harvard room. Guess which locker room BU are in?
Of course. Let me guess. Where his former BU? Where's former Terrier Steve Thornton?
No, but not only that. Guess what equipment manager let out all their gear?
Oh, come on.
It was even funnier. Steve, I was sitting talking to Glover, and Steve came in. He says, some of the BU lads are looking such and such, and I'm going, they've got you running about already. They're only in through the door. Our general manager, our head of hockey, is running about looking after them.
Well, we're convinced we have to get the photograph over the next week or so. Thornton's going to put a red tie on him at some stage. Somebody needs to get the photograph. The red tie will go on. There's no doubt about that.
We look at how successful we've been with Friendship 4. We talk about the number. We haven't mentioned the number of tickets that have been sold, and basically looking at this weekend, at the minute, there's going to be in the region of 20,000 people guaranteed through the doors at these 4 games this weekend. That is absolutely phenomenal.
It is, Simon, and again, it's a credit to the team that I have around me. I mean, we started out. Davy's right. 9 years ago, we started talking about this. 12 years ago, we started talking about it. 9 years ago, we put the first one on. And we were baking cakes, and we had long knives, and we were talking to Lord Mayors and all the rest. And everybody thought that the first one was slightly trepidation. We'd taken all the risk. We'd flown the teams here. We're now recruited out to 2031, and all the teams are coming themselves, right? Yeah. And that's because we have captured a teamwork ethos that has provoked the hospitality, an Irish hospitality, Northern Irish hospitality that has become legendary across the east coast of the States. And not only that, but when Steve and I went to Naples in Florida this year to talk to the coaches, they were calling us by our first names. It wasn't Mr. Fitzpatrick or Mr. Thornton. Oh, there's Robert from Belfast. Why don't you come and talk to this coach? And why don't you go and talk to this coach? All of that. But you're right, Paddy. But all of this has been done because of the team on the ground. The team on the ground that deliver this tournament, I would put against any team anywhere.
I think that's really interesting as well, because you look at the social media that are coming through the 4 different universities, and I've got a few examples already. And you see the stuff that they're putting up and they're coming in. You see, shots of them at the airport, shots of them coming through, videos that are coming from Notre Dame, from Merrimack, from Boston Uni, but from Harvard. It's all really good, and it shows not just the fact that there's these games that are taking place on Friday and Saturday, But there's a whole week of this, Robert. It's a whole
There
week
is.
of them coming over and the experiences that they have.
Well, take for example the initiative that Steve has decided. Steve and Mace have been working on this year with the sports conference, where as part of the Friendship Four, Michael O'Neill on Friday morning is going to be talking about leadership in sport. Marissa Callaghan's going to be talking about an unbeaten season with Cliftonville Ladies and her excursions with the Northern Ireland Ladies team. The Walsh siblings are going to talk about boxing. Conleth Gilligan, who was part of the Armagh team that won the Sam Maguire, is going to get up onto a stage and be interviewed by Thomas Niblock. Kathy Craig's going to be there. The guys from Stat Sports are going to be there. We would never have the confidence to put that on without knowing that we've an audience that are prepared to come. And in the middle of that, Pierre Maguire and Joe Britannia and Steve Hagwell are going to come and talk about American sports and the international of American sports in our city. It's getting to the stage now, Paddy, where we now have to start to nurture this thing because this belongs to us.
I find it funny that Steve and Joe are over. Of course, they're over. They're not in the roles anymore. We talked about it. We talked to Steve's successor last week, Robert.
Well, it's actually quite remarkable that I think Britannia's one ahead of Hagwell. So I think Britannia's on his 16th trip and Hagwell's on his 15th trip. And they're both tossing the feathers to see how they're going to come next year for the men and the women. So it could well be that there's a draw by the end of the women next year. We'll wait and see.
And let's very quickly to Monday night and the celebration that is and everything that comes, because it is 25th season of the Belfast Giants. It is the old cliche if they said it wouldn't last, but the fact that we are here 25 years and that we are able to celebrate 25 seasons of this organisation is remarkable.
Right. Well, all I can promise to you is, and Simon knows exactly what I'm talking about here, and I'm not giving it away. I'm just telling you that on Monday night there is going to be a big surprise.
I'm saying
and we can exclusively reveal here on The View from the Bridge it is
a big surprise.
Big surprise. Brilliant.
Look, Paddy, you guys have been there from the start, and I've always paid homage to the fact that you've been there from the start. 25 years on, we need to celebrate, and we need to party hard, right? We need to understand that people told us it would never last. And we need to understand that the pride that we have in our city is encapsulated in our slogan, in the land of the Giants, everyone is equal. When you think of the work that's done off the ice in the community, when you think of the volunteers we have this week to take strangers around our city and convey that friendliness of community to them, then by the time we get to Monday night, I'm nearly sure, Simon, we're sold out. We've over 1,000 coming.
It's over 1,100 now.
1,100 now as well. My last count was down. So there's 1,100 fans coming into W5 on Monday night. And trust me, leaving there, they will know that they're every bit as part of the Giants in 2024 as you were back in 2000 and 2001. We've big plans for Monday night. We've big plans for next Wednesday night at the Dundee game.
The following Wednesday.
Pardon me?
Following Wednesday, it's the 11th.
Following Wednesday, the 11th. There's another piece of the jigsaw is going to be put in that will reflect the 25 years. And then we roll into the Nottingham weekend, which is the official birthday party, where we're actually going to have a party with the fans. So between now and the end of the Nottingham weekend, you're going to have seen a very clear acknowledgement, hopefully on Monday night, of where the Giants sit within the fabric of the city. On the Dundee night, you're going to see an initiative announced that allows us to reflect on our greatness. And then for the Halloween or for the Nottingham weekend, we're going to party like it's 2099 if you want. I can't remember the ad lib.
This sounds fantastic, Robert. Listen, it's going to be a hell of a weekend this weekend coming to the Friendship Forum.
You're coming over, guys.
Absolutely.
You're all going to come over.
Absolutely.
You're all here.
I think Davy is as well. Davy? He is. He's nodding his head. He said, very much looking forward to it. It's one of the best weekends of the year. And you know how much we enjoy it and how much we try to encourage anybody who hasn't been down to see it. We were saying earlier on to get yourself down to watch the Friendship Forum. We're looking forward to seeing yourself, mate, and thanks for joining us.
Continue to do what you do, boys. Thanks very much. See you at the weekend.
The thing about the Friendship Four is we try on a View from the Bridge. We try to remain as neutral as we possibly can. So it's total neutrality in the Friendship Four here for the rest of the show. But as Robert says, it's one of those great weekends. It's the fact that sorry, Davy. It's the fact that the
I'm almost sore eye, buddy.
I don't know what you're talking. Listen, if Steve Thornton, I can do it. But it's one of the great weekends for us. And you said it earlier on. We've seen the social media of the universities coming in and what it means to them. It's a weekend I'm very much looking forward to.
Listen, honestly, I said it earlier in the show, right that when we come in at the start, and it is honestly, it's one of the best weekends of hockey anywhere in the UK. Make no mistake about that. Every year we've got the, we're very, very lucky now that it's going to be every year for the next few years anyway. That we're going to get colleges like Notre Dame, we're going to get colleges like Belfast University, Harvard. I know Merrimack are here again. It's the standard's absolutely superb. And if you haven't been, there are some still tickets available for each game. Obviously, the final on Saturday, it's going to be close to a sellout, if not a sellout. And the Belfast crew, the Belfast fans have been absolutely fantastic. I know there's people coming from further afield again this year, and I know they're going to be very, very happy with the standard that's going to be on the ice and on show this weekend for sure.
Before I ask you this question, Davey, just you're on mute. What I will say, Robert said it himself, is the fact that this tournament has grown and grown, and we have 1,000 people coming in to Belfast for the tournament alone, which is again remarkable.
Hold on, sorry, it's 1,000 bedrooms in the hotels.
Wow.
So multiply by at least 1.5. There's 1,500 people coming in.
No, it's that in itself is a brilliant showcase for actually what we're bringing in terms of tourism and money to the city. This isn't just an outgoing. We're not just sending money to America to bring these teams over. We're now bringing money to the city, and that's fantastic. We've been very, very fortunate to be, and Simon's a lot more involved than you and me, Paddy, but we've been involved in little bits and pieces, at all the tournaments along the way. Should have been that first year being given the privilege of looking after the bail, if you like, was one of our jobs. What else we've done? We've done little bits of TV. We've ran about and swept floors, and we've done whatever's asked of us, really. Big deal, it says down here. Down here. But we've been able to do little bits and pieces, whatever we're asked to do, because it's just so much fun to be involved with. I love the story of the bail. Hopefully get to tell to somebody over the weekend that doesn't know. Now is not the time for it. It's been told on this podcast many times, but
it's one of the best. So it's one of the best sporting. Like the idea of at the end of the tournament, the captain gets to ring the school bell in a college tournament. It still brings the hairs up on the back of my arm, and the fact that that there's something about that is just fantastic.
It's a little bit of genius connection. Yeah, whether it was intense and whether someone brought it to Robert's idea or whether he thought, I'm going to go look for this bell or whatever, but to have an East Belfast school that, somebody used to ring that bell to call the kids in, and now a captain of a hockey team gets to skate the centre ice to, celebrate success with it. It's just a lovely tie to the city, to the country, and it heads off back to North America for another 12 months with it's going to be a new owner this year, isn't it? These are 4.
No, yes, it will be. But you didn't know.
So it'll be a new name going on the plaque or whatever with it's engraved. But excited. I'm looking forward to seeing Ketchy. It's not well, I'm seeing him for a wee while.
Of course, the last winners of the Friendship Four were Quinnipiac, who then went on to win the Frozen Four and the full-on national championship. So it comes with pedigree.
And the goalie went to the NHL. My mate Yanni.
Griggles?
Peretz.
What do you call the other? There was a guy called Griggles who played in the NHL now as well.
Griggles was for they played in Green. Was it Dartmouth he was with?
Dartmouth. Yeah, he was unbelievable.
Dartmouth one of them had the goalkeeper that was about 7'5" as well.
He was unbelievable. He was a big lad as well.
Yeah.
But so I'm still hoping that someday, I know Tom McCollum's hopefully got 10 good years in him here, but hopefully when he retires, Yanni Peretz will, make good on his promise.
Because he'll come back.
Made to me, Davey, I'll come here some year. At least I think that's what he said.
Your mate Yannick. This is going to be a brilliant weekend. Looking forward to it. We see a question there says you can answer from Kevin Madden. Is off ice open all day? Asking for a friend.
Yeah.
It is. There you go, mate. Get stuck in.
Hold on. It's not open on Friday afternoon because there's a lot of school kids coming. So I was going to say bring your car out, but don't do that.
Bring your car out, then it'll get confiscated, and then one of us will pick it up. So
go to the bowl and get yourself some tacos. You can get drink in there.
Happy days. And how this tickets going for it, mate?
I mean, as I say, there's over 20,000 tickets now that have basically been snapped up for the whole weekend. So that there's over, I believe it's 5,000 over on the Friday afternoon, and I think it's nearly 5.5 on the Friday evening to start with. So, but it's going to be really, really good. And as I say, there's a lot of, even just today, watching the families arriving, there's some of the families managed to travel with the schools, and then there's other ones that Cara Travel who are sponsoring the whole event. Sarah from Cara Travel has basically brought bus loads up from Dublin as well. That have basically traveled separately. There was a guy from Germany that was on Delora a while ago, and he's putting together a group that wanted to come. They were looking group tickets for the Friendship 4 a few months ago. So I'm led to believe there's a group from Germany traveling for the Friendship 4. So it's fantastic. It's absolutely.
I know we have friends across the country as well. I don't know if Craig Simpson's coming over this year again, or we also have
been here last couple of years, hasn't he?
Yeah, our friend Rhonda McClure coming from North America. Well, she'll be back, and all that sort of. Some people who have been there and have really bought into it, and they come and they enjoy it every time it takes place, because it has been a couple of years since the last one. So really looking forward to having it back. Of course, the Belfast Giants still play. Go on, sis.
Just one thing. So I've just seen you've got on the news thing down the side. It's 2 p.m. face off on Saturday and Friday.
Oh, my mistake.
So it says 3 p.m., but it's 2 p.m. face off on Friday.
My error. I thought I took it off the website.
3 p.m. Saturday, 2 p.m. Friday.
2 p.m. Okay, 2 p.m. for the fourth place game on Saturday. One last thing to do. Who is backing, boys?
Davy.
In any particular order?
No particular order.
Go from 4 to 1.
Let me guess who the number 4 was.
I channel my inner Belfast Datsuk, and I'll back BU.
Right. BU. Okay, Mr. Kitchen. You haven't had a chance to see some of the teams.
I've watched all 4 practices today. Not all of them, as in the duration of them, but I've watched parts of all 4 practices. And BU look like they're going to be the team to beat, in my opinion.
Whereas I don't know if I've made this clear at all about who I'll be supporting through this. I will say I do have family connections to the University of Notre Dame, which is one of the reasons that I'll be enjoying and enjoying watching them play. I really want one of their shirts. These custom shirts that they've done. You said you've seen them in the flesh, but I really want one of these custom shirts that's done.
They do look fantastic. I mean, the detail that's in them, just the way they've been like, yeah, they look fantastic. In fairness, yeah.
Yeah, this will be interesting. It's going to be a great weekend, and if you haven't got a ticket yet, get yourself one. Get yourself over to it, because it's always a great tournament. But the Belfast Giants continue to play this weekend. The Elite League does not stop for the Friendship 4, more's the pity. They are away to the Clan on Friday at 7:30 p.m. and away to Dundee Saturday at 7 p.m. When it comes to looking at the league in the last weekend stuff, we are away to Dundee. I mentioned it earlier on, Davey. Dundee taking the win away at Sheffield. Now, of course, Sheffield come off the back of the defeat in Berlin that knocked them out of the Champions Hockey League. An injury to Greenfield that has put them out for a couple of weeks, and maybe an injury to their backup goalkeeper in DeFilippo, according to Aaron Fox, that potentially led to the defeat to the Dundee Stars on Sunday.
Yeah, injuries are a bummer.
But what my point being, it looks like Dundee are starting to have a bit of a kick up.
Listen, Dundee are no mugs. We had a few games against them at the start of the season where, they played really, really well. They tailed off a little bit, which wouldn't have been ideal for Mark Lefebvre. Would have been expecting them to start like a house on fire. Unfortunately, they tailed off very quick. They took their share of injuries as well. Obviously, Sean's coming back in, giving them a little kick on as well. And they're difficult in their own barn. They always have been. It's a very, very important to get one behind them as early as you can in that rink, or you're always up against it. They don't go away. But we'll worry about, I guess, Saturday night after Friday night. No, that's cliche, but we'll go to try and do the business in Glasgow. And I think if we can carry on the form that we showed last weekend, I think we're set for a good weekend.
Glasgow says they're having a bit of a time. It's interesting. I was kindly invited onto the 3-on-3 podcast this week, and we were talking about how Manchester are having a bit of a difficult time, and how Dundee has started to kick up towards the top. But I looked at the two bottom teams, and you have Fife with Tom Cullen in charge, an incredible amount of coaching experience, and Glasgow with Corey Nielsen in charge, another man with a lot of coaching experience. But the two of them are the bottom two teams in the league. Glasgow in a bit of a rut, maybe wanting some changes, but still a danger.
Listen, we've already talked about every team in this league is capable of beating everybody else on any given night. Fife have beat us this year. Glasgow beat us this year. But again, I fancy us against anybody if we can get fit, and we're hopefully starting to get there again. We this weekend hopefully we're getting our body back. It's great to see Carl find his feet. You talk about Lambo basically getting more minutes now, and hopefully longer is not going to be too far away as well. So hopefully we can get these guys back on the ice again and start really putting out the rope, because again, I genuinely fancy us against, if we can get fit, I fancy us against any team in this league. We have a really, really strong team, but we've got Tom's playing really well. When Jackson's been in, he's played well. So we just need to get fit, mate, and once we get fit, I fancy us against anyone.
This is the middle of a bit of a road swing for the Belfast Giants, of course. Away games this weekend, away games next weekend. We have Ben Lake will be back for the game in Dundee. The game in Glasgow on Friday night, and then the Giants. That's at 7:30. You can get that if you're not going over to Braehead Arena, or you're not going for the weekend. Then you can get that on Clan TV if you're not down watching Notre Dame against Harvard, which you should be. But you can get that on Clan TV at 7:30 p.m. on Friday, and then away to Dundee Saturday at 7 p.m. If you're not watching the Belpot game, you can get that on Dundee Stars TV. Any other business, boys?
I just to reiterate, I just sent you a screenshot there, Paddy, for a link actually for Monday night. Again, there are some tickets remaining. There's so much that's going to happen, and Robert's already said there's a big announcement going to be made as well. So if you are a Giants fan at all, you want to be at that event. This is our 25th. Start of our 25th year anniversary. I've seen some comments about why we're holding it on the 2nd of December. Davy, why are we holding the 2nd of December?
The 2nd of December 2000 was the first home game at the Odyssey Arena against the Irish Scottish Eagles back in the day, long time ago. And
we would have loved to have been able to play a game on our anniversary date, but unfortunately, just the way it worked out, it couldn't happen. So, it's something that you do not want to miss. And as I say, if we can get Giants fans all filling the place that night, you guys are coming over. You're going to be taking part. You don't know what's happening yet, but I'm going to tell you when the show's over. And we'll be playing our AVFTB will be playing a little part on the night itself. I think we had a brief discussion earlier on about potentially doing a live AVFTB on Saturday if we're still up for it.
Well, keep an eye on the socials. We'll have a bit of we'll maybe aim to do that on Saturday if before the final potentially, or what we can do.
Yeah, I'd have a chat with the powers that be tomorrow morning, and if we can get that to happen, then we'll try and make it happen in off ice on Saturday afternoon.
Steve Highwell says he's definitely up for it.
Always. Get Steve and Joe up. Is that Steve and Joe up? Get in and get Thorts up in his red tie. we get all the build up to the final. But yeah, if you wanted more information on the 25th on the Giant Party celebrating 25 seasons on Monday, 2nd December, go to the Belfast Giants website, belfastgiants.com, and you'll be able to get there not just the details on how to get tickets, but on a lot of all the action that's taking place in W5 on Monday. Anything from yourself, Mr. McGimsey?
I'm all good, mate.
All good. You all ready to go?
Worry about that on Thursday morning.
I've taken a leaf out of your book, and I've made use of one of the Belfast Giants sponsors to send the bag back, because I realized I hadn't booked any luggage on. I thought I'll send a I'm staying for 5 nights. I need to send.
Who did you use, Paddy?
I sent my bag. Is that? But they came today, picked up my bag, and I assume it'll arrive. I hope it'll arrive. I hope it arrives in Belfast by Thursday. But it's got all my stuff in it. But
it'll be there. You'll get a phone call from your mum tomorrow going, "Your bag's here, Patrick."
Bag's here already.
Where are you, Patrick?
Where am I? Oh yeah, your bag's here. Oh, we didn't know you were coming over. It's like, oh yeah, sorry, I forgot to tell you.
Surprise!
Surprise. Hitchy wants to know if you've booked your airport parking yet, Davy.
Unbelievably, Hitchy. The airport was 158 quid to park at for 4 days, so I will be sticking it somewhere and walking a wee bit.
That's not a bad idea, actually. Not a bad idea.
That's ridiculous. Like, that is absolutely ridiculous.
I see. I'm thankful that I live pretty close to the airport. I can take a train. That's sort of why I get away from it, so I take the train there. But that is like stupid money for parking. Anyway. Right. Yes. So I was say away to Glasgow on Friday night, 7:30. Away to Dundee on Saturday night at 7 p.m. You can get those. If you're not going, you can get those on the respective Clan and Stars TV. But if you're not traveling over, why not come down and watch the Friendship 4? The games that take place 3 o'clock on Friday and 7 p.m. on Friday for regards to the NCAA points. And then you've got the third place playoff at 2 p.m. and the Bell Pot final at 7 p.m. on Saturday. And it's going to be a hell of a weekend, as it always is. I think that's about it, gents. Big thanks to Zak Galambos and, of course, to Robert Fitzpatrick for coming and joining us on the show. Big thanks to everybody who's interacted with the show. You can get us on YouTube, X, Facebook, Instagram, kingdomofthegiants.com. You can email us. You can call the rant line. You can do whatever you want. We really appreciate everybody who gets involved, and looking forward to seeing a lot of you. Keep an eye on our social media, and we'll give you details if we're going to do a live of View from the Bridge on Saturday. We have a pint or two while I'm there. Looking forward to the weekend. Mr. Kitchen and Mr. McGimsey, looking forward to seeing you this weekend.
Yep, absolutely.
No doubt a busy weekend, but a fun one nonetheless. And and wherever you are this weekend, we hope you enjoy your hockey. We'll catch you here next time on A View from the Bridge.